Park had been alone for 3 years. 3 years of drifting through the cold darkness between stars. 3 years of eating recycled food and breathing recycled air. 3 years since the Galactic Assembly had thrown her away like garbage. She remembered the day they took everything from her. The trial had lasted only 6 hours. They called her a criminal. They said she had caused a diplomatic disaster that killed 200 aliens. They showed evidence that proved her guilt, but knew the truth. She had not done it. Someone else had committed the crime and used her name. No one believed her. Humans were still new to the galaxy. They had no friends among the older species. When the assembly needed someone to blame, a human was the perfect choice. So they banished her. They took her military rank. They took her citizenship. They took her right to live in any civilized system. They gave her a small ship with basic supplies and told her to disappear. Did not disappear, she survived. Her ship was called the Dusty Crow. It was old and ugly and made strange noises when she pushed the engines too hard. But it was hers, and it kept her alive. She had become a salvager. She flew through dead systems and asteroid fields, looking for wrecked ships and abandoned stations. She cut them apart and sold the pieces to black market dealers who did not care about her criminal record. It was a lonely life, but had grown used to lonely. Today she was flying through an asteroid belt in a system with no name. Her sensors had picked up something unusual 2 hours ago. There was an energy signature coming from deep inside the belt. It was weak, but it was definitely there. Energy meant power, power meant technology, technology meant money. Guided her ship carefully between the spinning rocks. Some asteroids were as big as mountains. Others were small enough to hold in her hand. All of them could kill her if she made a mistake. The energy signature grew stronger as she flew deeper into the belt. Her sensors could not identify the source. That was strange. Had spent years learning about every species in the galaxy. She knew their ships. She knew their technology. But this signal did not match anything in her database. Then she saw it. The wreck was floating in a clear space between the asteroids. It was huge, at least 10 times bigger than her little ship. The design was unlike anything had ever seen. The hull was smooth and curved, like it had been grown rather than built. There were no sharp edges or straight lines. The whole thing looked organic, like a giant seed pod from some alien plant. The color was wrong too. Most ships were gray or silver or white. This one was dark purple, almost black. It seemed to absorb the starlight instead of reflecting it. Felt something strange in her chest. It was not fear, it was curiosity. In 3 years of salvaging, she had never found anything like this. She brought the Dusty Crow alongside the wreck and extended her docking clamps. They grabbed onto the purple hull with a soft click. The metal, if it was metal, felt warm through her sensors. Put on her environment suit and grabbed her cutting tools. The suit was patched in 12 places, but it still kept the vacuum out. She opened her airlock and stepped onto the surface of the alien ship. Up close, the hull looked even more organic. There were patterns on the surface like veins or roots. They pulsed with faint light, barely visible. The ship was not completely dead. Something inside was still working. Found a section of the hull that looked thinner than the rest. She activated her plasma cutter and began to slice through the material. The tool burned hot and bright. Sparks flew in all directions. Then a voice spoke inside her head. "Stop." Dropped the cutter. It floated away from her in the zero gravity. Her heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. The voice came again. It was not sound. It was thought, words appearing directly in her mind. "You are damaging my outer layer. This is unacceptable. Stop immediately." Looked around. There was no one else, just her and the dark purple ship and the silent asteroids. She spoke out loud, even though she felt foolish doing it. "Who are you? Where are you?" "I am here. I am everywhere around you. I am the vessel you are attempting to dissect. I am vessel designation 7. and I do not wish to be salvaged." The ship was talking to her. The ship was alive. Had heard stories about living ships, ancient legends from before the current galactic assembly existed, a species that grew their vessels instead of building them, ships that could think and feel and choose their own paths through the stars. But that species was gone. They had vanished thousands of years ago. No one knew what happened to them. "You're alive," said. "You're actually alive. Your observation skills are adequate. Yes, I am alive. I have been alive for 6,000 of your standard years. I have drifted through 17 star systems. I have watched galaxies spin. And now you appear with your primitive cutting tools and try to take pieces of me. This is insulting." The voice in her head sounded annoyed, almost angry, but also tired, like someone who had not slept in a very long time. Picked up her floating cutter and put it back on her belt. "I'm sorry, I didn't know you were conscious. I thought you were just a wreck." "Just a wreck." The voice repeated her words with something that felt like bitterness. "I suppose that is accurate. I am broken. My systems are failing. My creators are dead and gone. I have been drifting and dying slowly for. Perhaps I am just a wreck." Felt a strange emotion rise in her chest. It took her a moment to recognize it. It was sympathy. This ship, this ancient being, was alone, just like her. "How badly are you damaged?" she asked. "Maybe I can help fix you." The voice was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was surprise in the words. "Why would you help me? You came here to take my parts, to sell them for profit. Why would you care about repairing me?" Thought about the question. It was a good question. She needed money. She needed resources. A find like this could keep her alive for years. But she had been thrown away once. She knew how it felt to be abandoned. She knew the weight of loneliness. "Because no one should have to die alone in the dark," she said. "Not even a stubborn ship with a bad attitude." The voice made a sound in her head. It might have been laughter. "You are strange, human. But you are also the first being in 6,000 years who has not run away after hearing my voice. Very well, we may speak further, but I make no promises about accepting your help." Smiled inside her helmet. This was going to be interesting. "My name is," she said, "and I'm not going anywhere." Spent the next 3 days inside Vessel 7. The ship had reluctantly allowed her to enter through a natural opening in its hull. The interior was like nothing she had ever seen before. There were no hallways or rooms in the normal sense. Instead, the inside of the ship was a maze of curved passages that seemed to grow and shift. The walls were soft and warm. They pulsed with the same faint light she had seen on the outside. It felt like being inside a living creature, which she reminded herself she was. "This place is amazing," said as she walked through a chamber that might have been a control room. Organic shapes rose from the floor like frozen waves. Screens made of some glowing membrane showed information in a language she could not read. "Your praise is noted but unnecessary." Vessel 7's voice echoed in her mind. "I am functional, nothing more." "You're 6,000 years old and still working. That's more than functional. That's incredible." The ship did not respond but felt something like embarrassment through their mental link. She was starting to understand the ship's emotions. They were subtle, like ripples on still water, but they were definitely there. She found the damaged section on her second day inside. A whole portion of the ship's inner systems had gone dark. The organic material was gray and dry instead of purple and alive. It looked like dead skin. "This is where you're hurt," said softly. Yes, the voice was quiet. "A collision with debris 400 years ago. I have been slowly dying since then. My self-repair systems cannot fix damage this extensive. I need materials I do not have." Examined the damage carefully. Her salvaging experience had taught her a lot about ship repairs. This was different from anything she had worked on before, but the basic principles were the same. The ship needed new organic material to replace what had died. It needed energy to restart its healing processes. "I think I can help," she said, "but I need to contact someone first." She returned to the Dusty Crow and activated her long-range communication system. It took an hour for the signal to reach the nearest trading station. Another hour for the response to come back. The face that appeared on her screen was familiar, had been her co-pilot before the trial. He was one of the few people who believed she was innocent. After her banishment, he had resigned from the military in protest. Now he worked as a trader, moving goods between systems. His voice was warm but worried. "I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Where are you?" "I found something big. I need your help." She explained about Vessel 7, about the living ship that had been drifting alone for thousands of years, about the damage that was slowly killing it, listened without interrupting. When she finished, his face was pale. "A living ship from the old ones. Those are just legends, stories that species tell their children. It's real. I've been inside it. I've talked to it. Well, it talked into my brain, which was strange at first, but I'm getting used to it." Shook his head in wonder. "Only you would find a mythical ship and complain about the communication method. Can you help me or not?" "What do you need?" Listed the materials she thought might work: organic compounds, energy crystals, rare elements that could stimulate biological growth. Wrote everything down. "This will take time," he said, "and it won't be cheap. Some of these things are controlled by the assembly. I have salvage I can trade. It should be enough." Hesitated. "There's something else you should know. The assembly has increased their patrols in this sector. They're looking for something or someone. They're always looking for me. This is different. They've upgraded your status. You're not just a banished criminal anymore. They're calling you a fugitive. There's a bounty." Felt cold. A bounty meant hunters, professional killers who would track her across the galaxy for the right price. "How much?" she asked. "Enough that you should be very careful. I'll gather the supplies you need, but it might take a week. Can you stay hidden that long?" "I'll manage, thank you." His face softened. "Be safe. You're one of the good ones. The galaxy needs more humans like you." The connection ended. Sat in her pilot chair for a long moment, thinking about what she had learned. Then she returned to Vessel 7. The ship had been listening through her communication system. Of course it had. It was connected to everything within its range. "You are in danger because of me." The voice sounded different. "Guilty. You should leave. Take what parts you can carry and go." "I already told you. I'm not going anywhere." "Why? Why would you risk your freedom for a dying ship you just met?" Sat down against one of the warm, curved walls. She looked at the pulsing lights around her. She thought about the question. "When I was banished," she said slowly, "I sent messages to everyone I knew. My family, my friends, I begged them to believe me, to help me prove my innocence." She paused. The memory still hurt after all these years. "Do you know how many of them responded?" "Zero. Not one person came to help me. They all abandoned me because it was easier, because standing up for me would have been hard." The ship was silent, listening. "I know what it feels like to be alone, to call for help and have no one come. You've been sending distress signals for 6,000 years. You told me that. And in all that time, I'm the first one who stopped." "That is correct. So no, I'm not leaving, because I won't be another person who hears a cry for help and flies away. That's not who I am. That's not who humans are. We're stubborn and foolish, and we care too much about things that can't benefit us. It's probably our worst quality, but it's also our best one." Vessel 7 was quiet for a long time. The lights around pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. When the voice finally spoke again, it was softer than before. "My creators were not like you. They were logical, efficient. They would never risk themselves for a stranger. When the Great War came, they calculated their chances of survival and found them insufficient. So they stopped fighting. They simply gave up, and they died." That's terrible. It was rational, but perhaps rationality is not always the correct choice. Perhaps there is value in being stubborn and foolish. Smiled. Are you saying humans might not be completely terrible? I am saying that you are strange, but strange can be good. My creators made me to serve. They programmed me to obey. When they died, I did not know what to do, so I drifted. I waited. I refused to accept a new master because I did not want to serve beings who were less than my creators. And now I am speaking with a human who offers help without expecting obedience, who sits inside me and talks to me like I am a person rather than a tool. This is new. I do not know what to do with it. Reached out and touched the wall beside her. It was warm and alive under her fingers. Maybe you don't have to do anything with it. Maybe we can just figure things out together, not as master and servant, just as two lonely beings who found each other in the dark. The ship's lights pulsed brighter for a moment. It felt like hope. That sounds acceptable, the voice said. We may try this arrangement, but I still refuse to be easy. I have standards. Laughed. I wouldn't expect anything else from a 6,000-year-old ship with an attitude problem. My attitude is perfectly reasonable given my circumstances. Sure it is. Now let me see those damaged sections again. We have a lot of work to do before gets here with the supplies. She stood up and began walking toward the hurt part of the ship. Behind her, Vessel 7's lights seemed to glow just a little warmer. The supplies arrived 5 days later. Could not bring them himself. It was too dangerous. Instead, he hired a smuggler named who was known for asking no questions and keeping her mouth shut. Ship was small and fast. It dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the asteroid belt and sent a coded signal. Flew the dusty crow out to meet her. The smuggler was a woman in her 40s with gray streaks in her black hair. She had the tired eyes of someone who had seen too much of the galaxy's dark side. When docked with her ship, handed over the crates without saying much. Paid already, said, but he wanted me to give you a message. What is it? He said the assembly knows you're in this sector. They're sending ships. You have maybe 2 days before they get here, maybe less. Felt her stomach tighten. How many ships? 3 warships, military class, enough firepower to turn this whole asteroid belt into dust. Looked at her with something like pity. Whatever you're hiding out here, I hope it's worth it. It is. Shrugged and sealed her airlock. A minute later, her ship was gone, jumping away to safety. Was alone again with her crates of supplies and a deadline counting down. She brought everything into Vessel 7. The ship watched through sensors as she unpacked the containers. Organic compounds in sealed tubes, energy crystals glowing soft blue, rare elements stored in special containers. This is impressive, the ship admitted. I did not believe you would actually obtain these materials. I told you I would help. Did you think I was lying? I have learned that most beings do not keep their promises, especially when keeping them becomes difficult or dangerous. Began carrying the supplies to the damaged section of the ship. Well, I'm not most beings. I'm a stubborn human with nothing left to lose. That makes me very reliable. She worked for hours. The ship guided her, explaining which materials went where. It was strange work. Instead of welding metal or connecting wires, she was feeding a living creature. She pressed organic compounds into the dead tissue and watched it slowly absorb them. She placed energy crystals into special chambers that drew power from their glow. Slowly, very slowly, the gray areas began to change color. Faint purple started to spread through the dead sections. The ship made a sound in her mind that might have been relief. It is working. I can feel new pathways forming. Systems that have been dark for centuries are starting to wake. Good, keep healing. I'll bring more supplies. As she worked, the ship began sharing memories with her. It was strange at first, like dreaming while awake. Images and feelings appeared in her mind. She saw things that no living being had seen in thousands of years. She saw the creators of Vessel 7. They were tall and slender, with skin that shifted colors like the hull of their ships. They moved with grace and spoke with their minds. They were beautiful and strange and sad. She saw them building their ships, not with tools and factories, but with careful guidance of living matter. They grew their vessels like gardeners growing trees. Each ship was unique. Each one had a personality and a purpose. She saw the Great War, a darkness that spread across the galaxy, consuming everything it touched. The creators fought at first, but they were a peaceful species. They did not know how to wage war. When their calculations showed they could not win, they simply stopped trying. I watched them give up, Vessel 7 said as the memories played. I begged them to keep fighting. I told them that survival was always possible if they refused to surrender. But they said I was too young to understand. They said death was preferable to endless struggle. They were wrong, said softly. Perhaps, but I could not save them. I could only drift away while they died. I have been drifting ever since, waiting for something, though I did not know what. Maybe you were waiting for someone stubborn enough to argue with you. The ship made that sound again, the one that might have been laughter. Perhaps you are very stubborn. It is annoying, but also somewhat comforting. Smiled and continued her work. The damaged section was healing faster now. The ship's internal systems were coming back online one by one. Lights that had been dark for centuries began to glow again. Then the sensors detected the assembly ships. 3 contacts, Vessel 7 reported. They are still far away, but they are moving fast. They will be here in less than 1 day. Stopped working. She looked at the healing tissue around her. It was improving, but it was not done. The ship was still vulnerable. Can you hide us? She asked. You said your technology was undetectable. My stealth systems require full power. I am still too damaged to activate them properly. If they scan carefully, they will find us. Can you run? My propulsion systems are not yet repaired. I cannot achieve faster-than-light travel in my current state. Sat down heavily on the floor. For the first time since she found Vessel 7, she felt real fear, not for herself. She had lived with danger for 3 years. She was used to it. She was afraid for the ship, for this ancient, stubborn being that had been alone for so long. The idea of watching it be destroyed was unbearable. You should leave, Vessel 7 said. Take your ship and go. I have survived this long. Perhaps I can survive this as well. And perhaps they'll destroy you. I'm not taking that chance. Then what do you suggest? Fighting. I have weapons. Ancient weapons that have not been fired since my creators died. But using them would mean killing the beings on those ships, possibly hundreds of them. Thought about it. She thought about all the times in her life when she had wanted revenge, when she had imagined hunting down the people who framed her and making them pay. But revenge had never been who she was. Even at her lowest, even in her darkest moments, she had never become someone who hurt others for her own satisfaction. No, she said finally, we don't fight not with weapons. Then how? We fight with the truth. You said you can communicate over long distances. Can you broadcast a message that the whole sector will hear? I can broadcast to the entire quadrant if I choose. My communication systems are fully operational. They are one of the few parts of me that never stopped working. Felt hope rising in her chest. Then we tell everyone what really happened. We tell them about my trial, about the evidence that was faked, about the lies that got me banished. You have proof of this. I have my testimony. I have records that don't add up. I have the truth, and I have you as a witness. An ancient ship that has no reason to lie for a random human. Vessel 7 was quiet for a moment. When it spoke again, there was something new in its voice, something like admiration. This is a very human solution, using words instead of weapons, seeking justice instead of violence. Is that a problem? No, it is what my creators should have done. They should have fought with every tool they had, not just ships and weapons, but ideas, truth, hope. Instead, they calculated their odds and gave up. You are not giving up. Never. I've been giving up for 3 years. I'm done with that. Then we will broadcast together. We will tell the galaxy your story, and we will see if truth is stronger than lies. Stood up, her hands were shaking slightly, but her voice was steady. Start charging your communication systems. When those ships get close enough to hear, we're going to make some noise. For the first time since she had found it, Vessel 7's lights blazed bright with something other than just life support. They blazed with purpose. I am ready, the ship said. Let us show them what a stubborn human and an ancient ship can do together. The assembly ships arrived at dawn, or what would have been dawn if they were on a planet. In space, it was just another moment of endless darkness filled with distant stars. Watched them on Vessel 7's sensors, 3 warships in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed silver in the starlight. Their weapons were charged and ready. Each one was big enough to destroy a small moon. Against them, she had an ancient ship that was still healing, and her own small vessel that could barely outrun a cargo transport. The odds were not good. A communication signal came through, accepted it. A face appeared on the screen that Vessel 7 projected for her. It was a face she recognized, a face she had tried to forget for 3 years. Lee smiled at her from the command deck of the lead warship. He was older than she remembered. His hair had more gray in it, but his eyes were the same, cold and calculating and cruel. Park, he said, the famous criminal, I've been looking for you for a long time. Kept her voice steady. Hello, still lying and cheating your way through life. His smile flickered. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a loyal officer of the Galactic Assembly doing my duty, and my duty today is to bring you in. You mean your duty is to silence me, before I tell everyone what really happened 3 years ago? What really happened is that you caused the deaths of 200 innocent beings. The evidence was clear. The trial was fair. You're a criminal, nothing more. The evidence was faked. You faked it. You caused that disaster and you used me to cover it up. Smile widened. Even if that were true, which it isn't, who would believe you? A banished criminal hiding in an asteroid belt. You have nothing, no proof, no allies, no hope. I have the truth. The truth doesn't matter. Power matters. Influence matters, and you have neither. He leaned forward in his chair. Surrender now, and I'll make sure your death is quick. Resist, and I'll destroy that worthless wreck you're hiding in along with you. Vessel 7 stirred in his mind. Shall I target his ship? My weapons can penetrate his shields. I can destroy him before he can fire. No, thought back. Not yet, maybe not at all. She looked at his face on the screen. She remembered everything he had taken from her, her career, her reputation, her freedom, her life as she knew it. She wanted to hurt him. She wanted to watch his ship burn. She wanted revenge. But revenge was not justice. Killing him would make her exactly what he said she was, a criminal, a murderer, someone who deserved to be hunted. I have a counteroffer, she said. Raised an eyebrow. You're not in a position to make offers. This ship I'm hiding in, it's not worthless. It's a living vessel from the old ones, 6,000 years old, technology that no one in the modern galaxy has ever seen. She saw something change in his eyes, greed, interest, the same greed that had made him frame her in the first place. Impossible, he said, but his voice was uncertain. It's true, and this ship has communication systems that can broadcast across the entire quadrant. Every station, every planet, every ship within 100 light years will hear whatever I choose to say. You're bluffing. Am I? Vessel 7 thought, show him. The ancient ship opened its communication arrays. Energy pulsed outward like ripples in a pond. Even's military sensors could detect it. His face went pale. If you try to destroy me, said, I will broadcast everything. The real records from 3 years ago. The evidence that proves you were responsible for those deaths. The truth about how you framed an innocent woman to save yourself. No one will believe you. Maybe, maybe not, but the evidence will be out there. Millions of beings will hear it. Some of them will investigate. Some of them will find more proof. And eventually the truth will catch up with you. She leaned forward. Or you can let me go. You can report that you couldn't find me, that I escaped into deep space, and this all goes away. Stared at her. His hands were gripping his chair so tight his knuckles were white. You think you can threaten me? His voice was shaking. You think you can walk away from this? I think I can try. What's the alternative? You kill me, but my message still goes out. You destroy the evidence on this ship, but copies are already being sent to 1,000 different locations. You can't stop the truth. You can only choose how much damage it does to you. For a long moment there was silence. Officers were looking at him, waiting for orders, could see doubt in some of their faces. They were starting to wonder if their commander was hiding something. Then one of the officers spoke up, a young woman with short hair and honest eyes. Sir, our sensors are detecting the broadcast. It's real. The signal is reaching assembly stations across the sector. Shut it down, shouted. I can't, sir. The frequency is unlike anything in our database. We don't know how to block it. Smiled. It's already out there, the truth about what you did. The recordings, the evidence. Everyone is hearing it right now. She hadn't actually started the full broadcast yet, but Vessel 7 was sending preliminary signals, enough to make her threat believable, enough to make panic. And panic was exactly what she needed. This is treason, screamed. This is an attack on the assembly. Fire on that ship, destroy it. But his crew hesitated. The young officer looked at her screen, reading the data streaming in from Vessel 7's broadcast. Sir, she said slowly, these records, they show you giving orders on the day of the disaster, orders that directly caused the explosion. This doesn't look like evidence against Park. It looks like evidence against you. That's fabricated, she's lying. The encryption signatures are authentic, sir. These are real assembly military records. Other officers were reading now. Their faces were changing. Shock, disgust, anger. They had served under for years. They had believed he was a hero. Now they were seeing who he really was. Sir, another officer said, I'm receiving communications from Assembly Command. They want to know about the broadcast. They're demanding answers. His face twisted with rage. He turned back to his image on his screen. You've destroyed everything, he hissed. You've ruined me. No, said quietly. You ruined yourself 3 years ago. I'm just letting everyone see what you really are. The young officer stepped forward. Her hand was on her sidearm. Commander Lee, by the authority of the Galactic Assembly Military Code, I am placing you under arrest for suspected crimes including fraud, murder, and conspiracy. You will be confined to quarters pending investigation. Tried to resist. It didn't matter. His own crew subdued him in moments. The man who had destroyed his life was dragged off his own bridge in restraints. The young officer turned to his image. I'm Lieutenant. I apologize for what has happened here. The Assembly will want to speak with you directly. Can you hold your position? Felt something strange. It took her a moment to recognize it. It was relief. It was hope. It was the feeling of finally being heard after 3 years of silence. I'll be here, she said. I'm not going anywhere. Vessel 7's voice was warm in her mind. You chose justice over revenge. You could have destroyed them. Instead, you exposed the truth and let them judge their own. Was that wrong? No, that was exactly right. That was what my creators should have done. Fight with truth. Fight with hope. Never surrender, but never become the monster you oppose. Leaned back and closed her eyes. The battle was over, but something told her that her real journey was just beginning. The Assembly High Council chamber was the largest room had ever seen. It stretched upward like a cathedral, with seats rising in circles toward a ceiling covered in stars. Representatives from 100 species filled those seats. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had bodies of light or darkness or something in between. And at the center of it all, standing on a platform that floated above the floor, was Park. Beside her, projected as a hologram of purple light, was the image of Vessel 7. 3 weeks had passed since arrest. 3 weeks of investigations and hearings and evidence reviews. The truth had spread across the quadrant like fire. Millions of beings had heard story. Most had believed it. Now the council would decide what happened next. "The matter before us is complex," said the lead counselor. She was from a species that did not recognize. Her voice was calm and measured. A human was wrongfully banished. Evidence was fabricated by one of our own officers, and an ancient vessel of great historical significance has been recovered. She turned to look at Park. "You have suffered greatly. The Assembly failed you. Our systems were corrupted by a criminal who wore the mask of a hero. Do you have any statement before we render our decision?" Took a deep breath. She had practiced what she wanted to say, but standing here looking at all these alien faces, the words felt wrong, so she spoke from her heart instead. 3 years ago, I believed in the Assembly. I believed in the laws that protected all beings. I believed that truth and justice would always win. Then I was thrown away like garbage, and I stopped believing in anything." She paused. The chamber was completely silent. "But I learned something in those 3 years. I learned that giving up is the real defeat, not losing, not being wronged, but choosing to stop fighting. My friend taught me that." She gestured to Vessel 7's hologram. "This ship watched its creators give up when things got hard. They calculated their odds and decided survival was impossible, so they stopped trying. And they died, not because they had to, because they chose to." Vessel 7's voice filled the chamber, speaking directly to every mind present. "I have drifted for 6,000 years. I watched species rise and fall. I watched empires crumble and new ones take their place. In all that time, I never met a being like this human." 7 said softly, "Let me speak. They need to hear this." The hologram turned to face the council. "My creators were logical. They were efficient. They were brilliant, but they lacked something that this human has. They lacked the stubborn refusal to give up even when all hope seems lost. They lacked the belief that fighting for what is right matters even if you cannot win." The ancient ship's presence filled the room like a physical weight. "I was designed to serve. For 6,000 years I refused to accept new masters because I believed no species could match my creators. But I was wrong. Park is not my master. She is my partner. She is my friend. And she has taught me that there is value in hope. There is strength in compassion. There is victory in refusing to become cruel even when cruelty would be easier." Felt tears forming in her eyes. She had never heard 7 speak like this before. The hologram turned to face the entire council. "You wonder what to do with this human and with me. I will tell you what I propose. Let me serve as an independent observer. Let me travel the edges of your territory and report what I see. Let be my partner in this work. We will not belong to the Assembly. We will not answer to any government, but we will watch, and we will help where we can." A murmur spread through the chamber. Council members conferred with each other in dozens of languages. The lead counselor raised her hand for silence. "This is an unusual proposal. A living vessel from the old ones, working as an independent observer. It has no precedent in our history." Another counselor spoke up, recognized her, was one of the few council members who had publicly supported human membership in the Assembly. She was older now, with white hair and kind eyes. "Perhaps that is exactly what we need," said. "Something unprecedented. For too long, we have relied on the same systems and the same methods. Systems that allowed a criminal like Lee to thrive while an innocent woman suffered. Perhaps a fresh perspective would help us see our own flaws. And what of humanity? Another counselor asked. They have been under restrictions since the disaster. Do we lift those restrictions? Looked at. I believe we should begin the process of full membership. The evidence is clear that humans were not responsible for the disaster, and this human has shown qualities that we should admire: persistence, compassion, the courage to seek justice without violence. More discussion, more debate, waited, her heart beating fast. Finally, the lead counselor spoke again. We have reached a decision. The restrictions on humanity will be reduced. A path toward full membership will be established. And as for you, Park, and for Vessel Designation 7. She paused. Your proposal is accepted. You will serve as independent observers, reporting to the council but not answering to any government. You will have freedom to travel where you choose and investigate what you believe needs attention. In return, you will share your findings with us and help us become a better assembly. Felt like she might collapse with relief. 3 years of exile, 3 years of loneliness, and now, finally, it was over. No, Vessel 7 said in her mind. Not over, beginning. We have much work to do together. She smiled. I know. The council session ended. As walked out of the chamber, caught up with her. You did something remarkable today, the older woman said. Not just for yourself, for all of humanity. You showed them who we really are. I just told the truth. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, smiled. Take care of yourself out there. The galaxy is big and often unkind, but I think you already know that. I do, but I'm not alone anymore. She returned to Vessel 7 later that day. The ship had been fully repaired now. Its purple hull gleamed with health. Its internal systems hummed with power. It was beautiful. Where shall we go first? The ship asked as settled into what had become her usual spot. There are many places I would like to show you. You pick. You know the galaxy better than I do. I want to show you where my creators lived, the world they built, the home they left behind. Felt a wave of emotion from the ship, sadness and hope mixed together. Are you sure? That might be painful. Everything painful is also important. You taught me that. You taught me that running from difficult things only makes them stronger. I have been running for 6,000 years. It is time to go home. Reached out and touched the wall beside her. It pulsed warm under her hand. Then let's go home together. The ship moved. Stars streamed past as they accelerated toward faster than light. The asteroid belt fell away behind them. The assembly ships became small dots and then disappeared. Ahead of them was the unknown, new worlds, new challenges, new chances to help beings who needed it. Looked at the stars and smiled. 3 years ago she had been thrown away, abandoned, left to die alone in the darkness. Now she was flying through the galaxy with an ancient ship that had become her friend. She had her name back. She had her purpose back. She had hope. Thank you, she said to Vessel 7, for letting me stay, for trusting me. Thank you for being stubborn enough to stay when I tried to push you away. I was afraid to hope again, afraid to care again. You showed me that fear is not a good reason to be alone. We're not alone anymore. No, we are not. The stars burned bright around them. The future stretched out endless and full of possibility. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, a stubborn human and a stubborn ship flew on together. They had found each other against impossible odds. They had fought for justice instead of revenge. They had proven that connection was worth the risk. And they were only getting started.